since expanded them to go up to 40 minutes.
Very well. So they use that term.
All of those things in education, of course, those things are important.
Oxygen is going to our heads and our lungs.
Affirmations in the mirror for about 2 minutes.
This is amazing.
And doing new things for our brain.
Normal, in a sense, with all of the changes.
Which parts of the brain are used?
Based on that map that we have.
See you with your smiling.
Atul, thank you very much for allowing me to join you. Namaste to you, my friends.
Namaste, good evening, good morning, and a big hello to all our viewers and listeners who have joined us today live on Facebook for another series of Pep Up Talk on Early Childhood Global Mastermind Group. I'm so delighted, so excited today because we have, guess what? We have Holly Elissa Bruno with us today. Holly, welcome.
Thank you so much. I'm delighted to be here. And to everyone who's joining us around the world, India especially, I'm so delighted to meet you. And thank you, Preeti, for inviting me.
Thank you, Holly. I'm so excited. So let's start another Pep Up Talk. When the world flips upside down, children need stable, unflappable adults to reassure them that all is well and will be. But who reassures us adults when our world too gets topsy-turvy and crashes like Humpty Dumpty? Difficult times can bring out the best in us, not just the worst. Let's together identify today, we have Holly with us. So I believe today is a time, let's together identify hopeful everyday practices that can serve as our lighthouse through this pandemic storm. Together, when we talk, when we connect, we can lift spirits and foster resilience by practicing proven approaches or different ways to grow with and not run, hide, suffer through these difficult times. That's the reason today on our Pep Up Talk, we are discussing this topic, being an unshakable adult for our children in difficult times. And who else can guide us better than Holly Elissa Bruno? She has been kind enough to allow me to give the shortest possible intro, because if I start introducing Holly, I believe this entire session would be less. So I thank you, Holly, for that. So I will quickly introduce people, about Holly. Holly Elissa Bruno, MA, JD, best-selling, award-winning author, international keynotes, served as Maine's Assistant Attorney General and Academic Dean at the University of Maine, Augusta, where she was named Outstanding Professor. Her sixth book, Happiness is Running Through the Street to Find You, Translating Trauma's Harsh Legacy into Healing, sold out immediately. And we are talking about 2020. This is when the latest book, she has just finished, Happiness is Running Through the Street to Find You. Holly, it's an honor for me to have you with us today on the Pep Up Talk. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, hon. And it's a pleasure for me to be with you. Everyone who's with us, I'm looking at folk that are with us. Thank you for joining us. And what you don't know is that Preeti and I just met really within the last week, and I had such a good time with her. She is fun. She's outrageous. And when it comes to being a mother, what is there but to be real? I mean, I'm going to say this right now, Preeti. My mother expected perfectionism. My mother was very what we call old school. She was, you have to be a perfect mother, and the children have to be perfect, and the family has to be perfect. And we all had to do well in school. We didn't have a choice. And then I became a mother. And I have these two wonderful, sounds like a train is going by, my friend. I have these two wonderful children who are now adults, and the world flipped upside down. It went topsy-turvy, like you said. All of the things that I had been taught, many of the things I had been taught by my mother, just couldn't be true, because my children were born at a different time. Listen,
absolutely.
Children today, I mean, I'll say this last thing, Preeti. The one thing my father and my mother absolutely instilled, besides be perfect, was RESPECT, respect. You will respect us no matter what. We were not allowed to raise our voice. We were not allowed to what they call talk back. My children, honey, they tell me what they think. They tell me what they feel. And there are times when I have to zip my lip. Anybody know what I'm talking about here that's with us? I have to zip my lip and remind myself, sweetie, it's okay. If your son is angry at you, he's angry. Let's talk this through. Let's use this as an opportunity. So, and we do always get through to the other side. But Preeti, the thing about being unflappable, I'm going to tell you this, my friends, and I want to ask you guys this question. If there's one thing, and Preeti, I'm going to ask you this too. If there's one thing that you all are unflappable about, like one commitment you have to mothering, that you don't quit on no matter what, no matter how many bad hair days you have, you don't quit. Honey, and I have a lot of bad hair days. So and I'll tell you mine as I'm inviting you to consider yours. My one unflappable truth about being a mother is that I decided, and I just listened to my heart, that I would forever and always love my children unconditionally. They might do things, and they have done things that are really contrary to what I would have chosen for them. They have taken pathways that I knew were dangerous, but they chose those pathways, and I knew my job as a mother was to love them through all of it. And that's, Preeti, that's my unflappability. It's to have unconditional love and respect for my children, even though they're my children and I'm supposed to be guiding them. What I've done is they were a gift to me. They were a gift. And my job is just to love them through everything, not taking grief. If someone says something, does something inappropriate, I shall call them on that. But it's that love, sweetie, that's the one thing that's unflappable. So I'm interested, Preeti, for you, with your two beautiful children whom I met, love them. What is your unflappable principle that you adhere to no matter how bad hair a day you might have?
For me, honestly, you're right. You know, there are so many instances where we feel that, you know, I would have done it differently, or I would have chosen something different, you know, what they did. But one thing which you can call that it's unflappable for me is like I never would do anything or so that my children always feel that they are safe around me, safe with me, you know, because if that is one thing, I believe every relation starts from there, you know, a parent and a child, that children have to feel safe around you, even if they've done something wrong, even if they, if whatever, you know, they've done something wrong, they want to share something, but if they're assured of one thing, that, you know, I'm safe, I can just go and admit it. You know, I believe that is something which remains unflappable for me as a parent, that don't lie to me. Just come and just admit it. You are safe. Okay. So of course you'll get the scolding if need be, but I have reassured and, you know, time and again that you do not need to feel, you know, unsecure if, you know, so that is one, you know, thing that
I have to say, you see, this is why I love working with Preeti, because last time we were working together, I had my piece of paper, right? And I'm writing down all the truths about life that Preeti tells me. And I want to let you guys know, some years ago, I had my own television, I had that too, but I had my own radio program.
Right.
And it was called Heart to Heart Conversations on Leadership. It was for leaders of programs. And I interviewed people that I thought could help. And so I sought out the people who had researched and written something we call the ACEs study. ACEs, as you may know, it was an American study in California, but it was with thousands and thousands of families and children. And what they discovered was that many children, because they have a difficult time in their early lives, difficult time may mean not being seen, not being heard, not being accepted for who they are. And so they had to become a false self, not be true to themselves. And, yeah, honey. So here's what when I interviewed Dr. John Medina, I said to him at the end of our 10 minutes, I said, so John, tell me Dr. Medina, tell me, if there's one thing you want us to know, those of us that are with small children, young children, what is that one thing? And Preeti, I thought he was going to say love, because that's what's true for me. But I listened up, just like I listened to you just now. And I'm looking forward to reading what other folk are saying too about what their one unflappable point, principle of parenting is. And here's what he said. He said, safety. He said, if a child isn't safe with you, the child can't learn, the child can't grow, the child can't experiment, the child can't even play, because her brain and her soul, he didn't use the word soul, I do, but her brain is jammed with worry about, I'm going to get it wrong, I'm going to get it wrong. And I'll conclude by saying this, Preeti, that safety and love, those are the two things, right, that are essential to being unflappable. But here's something, and I wonder if this is true for the folk listening, or perhaps you and your husband. I was raised not with safety or necessarily with love. I was raised with strong discipline and fear. And what I mean by fear is I knew if I didn't bring home excellent grades, if I didn't get good points for behaving well, if I didn't look good, if I didn't bring honor to my family, that I was in danger. Now, in danger meant I lived in fear of not getting things right. And I'm going to be 75 at the end of this year, 75, and I'm still learning. Thank you, honey. I'm still learning to choose hope over fear, because fear can control children. Shame can, you know what I mean by shame? Shame can control children, and they become very obedient. My sisters and I were obedient, really obedient, good girls, but we didn't know who we were. My children have a better idea who they are, and I might not always like what they do, but I love who they are. Does that make sense?
Well, that makes all the sense, Holly, because as you mentioned, yes, the generation before us, yes, I mean, that was the thought that, just do what I expect you, to do, and be what I expect you to be. However, times have changed, the generations have changed, and the expectations have changed too. So children, I believe, and that's a very good progress, because today children can express themselves freely in front of parents. A child can come to you and say that, I prefer a music class instead of a karate class, or I prefer to go and play football, and I am not interested for a Vedic maths class. So I believe that's a very good way, the way this generation is going, and the way parents understand their children, and we are very glad. So I'm sure I'm loving this conversation. So let's take some questions, or the thought that we gathered from a lot of parents and friends. So as you mentioned, a happy childhood for your little one is a dream. It's a mission. It's actually a mission for every parent. Their life revolves around it. Okay, what should I do, so that my child is healthy, eat well, sleep well, play well, should know all the basic skills. So it actually becomes a mission after a certain point of time. However, in the last 6 months, the entire world has changed. So my dream and my vision has not changed, but the time has changed. And it has changed into a very difficult time, very challenging time for a lot of us. We would love to hear it from you and you know, the ocean of knowledge and experience that you have. What are the ways that, you know, we can talk about, or you can guide us as parents, that we can make this time, if not, obviously we cannot change it, but what are the ways, what are the approaches that we can take to make it a little better for us? Because once it becomes better for us, we can then, you know, make it better for our children. So we would love to hear some from you, Holly.
Thanks. And I'm watching what people are saying, and I'm loving what they're saying too. And here's, and I invite them to just type it along as you and I are sharing here. Look, it's not what I learned. I learned to try to control things. Well, guess what? I can't control much at all, except my own attitude, except my own perspective, except my own beliefs. Yes. Mm-hmm. And so there's an old serenity prayer that many of us know. God, grant me the serenity. And the new serenity prayer says, grant me the serenity to accept the people I cannot change, the courage to change the one I can, and the wisdom to know that one is me. So I'm going to, with that base in principle in heart, I'm going to say, Preeti, there are 4 things that have really helped me maintain perspective in the midst of this pandemic. And the pandemic is like triple. It's not just the fear of this unseeable virus that can kill people, or that separate grandmothers when grandbabies are being born, or, you know, I have friends who have people in hospital that are at the end of their life and can't be with them. So things are topsy-turvy, and yet what holds true? What holds true for me is hope. And I get in every moment to choose, and it is a choice, to choose hope over fear, because pandemics of on lack of health like this coronavirus, but also the pandemic of fear that's just in the air. I wonder if other parents, moms, dads have felt this, you know, like the first couple of weeks of lockdown, I would find myself just feeling kind of free-floating fear. It was no fun. So I really had to have a meditative time with myself and feel it through and think it through. And here's what I came to. Hope. I love this. Emily Dickinson said, hope is the thing with feathers that perches in the soul and sings the song without words and never stops at all. And wow. Yes, and to me, hope is a spiritual belief that I can choose no matter how bad things are, Preeti. In the moment, with my children, with babies, with somebody else's children, with myself, if I choose hope, at a minimum, hope, H-O-P-E, stands for hold on, pain ends.
Wow, that's a perspective. Yes.
Pain ends. But here's what it means to me, and I invite each person that's listening, if you're willing to do this, just take that 4-letter word. It's a good 4-letter word. Just take the 4-letter word, hope. And when you look at the letter H, what does that mean to you about parenting? And O, what does that mean? And as you're just writing that, there's no right or wrong answer. It's what's true for you, okay? So when I was writing that up for myself, here's what I came to. Hope. The H stands for humor. Because, Preeti, if I lose my sense of humor as a parent, I am down.
I couldn't agree more. Absolutely. You have to have your sense of humor. Absolutely. Yes.
And if we lose it, what happens? What do we feel like if we don't have a sense of humor? Depressed. Here's what the expert on adults in play, Dr. Stuart Brown, taught me. I interviewed him, and you know what he said? He asked, what is the opposite of play? So my friends, as you're there, what is the opposite of play? Preeti, no right or wrong answer. What's the opposite of play in your world?
Play. I can't think of
That's okay, girlfriend. I can tell you what the majority of us say. You ready for this? Not to play is, see, she's too smart for me. I got to I'm worried about your husband there, what he's going to say about this. But anyway, look, here's the deal. Dr. Stuart Brown said to me, and this is in his book, it's simply called Play. And it's a very helpful book for parents because it talks about not losing our sense of play and humor. And when I was happiest with my kids was when I was on the floor doing something with them. And I didn't know how it was going to come out. They didn't know how it was going to come out. But what we knew is that we were safe with each other and we loved each other. And that therefore anything that happened, we could get through. So humor is my first H. And Dr. Stuart Brown, you know what he said? He said the opposite of play is not work. Everybody says you got to work hard and then you can play. No. And that's the way I was raised, to be a hard worker, 28 hours a day, you know, work my work and then come home and work as a parent. I mean, like, when was that time for me? That wasn't even a consideration. But here's what Stuart Brown says the opposite of play is: depression. So how many parents besides me have felt depressed at some pandemic? And what do we do to bounce back? Well, I can cry, and I've done that. I can talk with somebody like a therapist if I need to, and I'll do that. I can text a friend. This is my BFF right now. We're isolated, not isolated, but, you know, and I can text a friend. I can say, "Oh, Ted, I'm such a mess today. Can you just talk with me?" And we do. However, here's what I can do for myself. And I'm parents, anybody who's with us, here's something you can do. Step back and remember that the H in hope stands for humor. And just look in the mirror and find and talk to yourself. I mean, I know it sounds crazy, but you got to be crazy to be a good parent, right? So absolutely. For me, so I get up in the morning and I'm looking at my 74-year-old face and I'm thinking, what am I doing with this zit? Zit is an American phrase for simple. And then I start to laugh. Because what am I doing? I'm doing what my good mother taught me. Look for what's wrong and fix it. Well, honey, I can do that, is it? But I step back and then I say, you know what? For a 74-year-old woman, you're looking pretty good. You're looking hot. You know what I'm saying? Now, I was never allowed to say that.
I agree.
Thank you, honey. So what I'm saying here, my friends, is if I can laugh at myself, and I do start laughing when I'm hard on myself, I just laugh because this is what I was taught to do, be rigorous, be hard on myself. You know what? We are the children's curriculum, Preeti. They're watching mom and dad and grandma and all these folks. They're saying, when trouble comes our way, what does mama do? Does mama get scared and cranky? Well, yeah. And so what does mama do when she discovers she's getting scared and cranky? Well, she does something like says, let's dance.
Absolutely.
Dancing, you know, and it's fine. The way my son danced was his own way. The way my daughter danced was her own way. And I didn't care if I looked like a silly, whatever, chicken dancing, because we were together. We were doing something we love. So the first part of hope for me, Preeti, is humor. The second part, you guys ready for this? Originality. Now, originality doesn't mean I have to be this poet or this stage screen star, whatever. No, it means being true to myself. And that's my invitation to every child that I meet. Who are you? I want to get to know who you are. I want to find out what your gifts are, because we all come with gifts. And when I listened to a child, I found out the gifts. My parents they did the best they could, but they were not aware that they could ask questions like, Holly Elissa, how do you feel about that? So I didn't know how I felt. I had to figure that out much later. So the second part is being original. What is true to me? And I'm my best parenting self when I am being true to me, not pretending anything else. And my kids, I was just on another program in India, and I asked, because children can read us like from the get-go, they can read us. So I asked her, my friend Fatima, I said, so Fatima, have your children read you today? And she said, oh, yes. My daughter told me when my nostrils flare out, that's when I need to leave the room.
Shouldn't be around at that time.
And my son says to me, Mama, when you get silent, big trouble. Okay, so keep my sense of humor. Be true to myself. I can't be anybody but myself, but I was taught to be like other people. Nah, be true to myself. The third thing about hope, the P stands for perspective. And Preeti, when I start to lose it or feel discouraged, I remind myself to look up. Because during the pandemic, we're looking down a lot. We're looking at how can we survive? How can we keep our children safe? And that's important. But when I look up, I get inspired. And I'm looking up right now. I invite you guys to look up. If you were to look up out the window, what do you see? And it's that moment of just getting a different perspective on the world that helps me. If I can, for example, in terms of getting perspective with a young child, if I can ask the child, Nicolo, which is my son's name, Nicolo, when you look at this, sweetie, what do you see? Mom, that's a bug on a wall. Well, okay. So tell me, what's the bug look like? Just ask these questions, and that's perspective. And then by the time he's told me all about what he sees, then my daughter's going, Mama, I want to tell you, And so perspective gives us distance from the problem, just enough difference to get back our sense of humor. And the last part of hope for me is emotional honesty. I was taught that to be nice, and what else? I was taught to be ladylike. Did anybody else get that? Be a gentleman, be ladylike? Oh my goodness.
All the time, I guess.
Oh my goodness, girlfriend, my hair had to be perfect. I wasn't allowed to wear makeup for the longest time. Look at my hair. I'm loving it because it's real. But I had to be this lady, and I had to act as if everything were just fine and please and thank you. I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but what I'm saying is I was taught to get out of touch with my feelings. I was taught to feel what my mother felt and what my father felt so I could please them. But as a result, I didn't know what I felt. It's taken me a long time to learn what I'm feeling. So the truth is, hope for me stands for keep my sense of humor, be true to myself. And that does not mean perfect, because I can't ever be perfect. Get perspective. I'm getting discouraged, depressed. Get perspective, reach out for help. And the last thing is to be as emotionally honest with myself as I can. And I cry with my children. I apologize to my children. I say to them, what you're saying to me is not the way I would do it, but honey, this is your life. And I need to know what is best for you. And there were times, look, my daughter's now 34, and I'll end with this. When my daughter was like 19 years old and she went to college and she was living at the university, and she went fortunately close enough so that she could come home whenever she wanted to, I would go to that college. My daughter's beautiful. She's adopted from Korea, and she had beautiful long black hair. And she's beautiful. And so, of course, all these young men were attracted to her, and I'm going, and back in the day, young girls were having something called, I don't know if you heard about this, but it was called Friends with Benefits, so that they actually have sexual relationships with their friends. And this is so far apart from me. And so what did my daughter and I do? We walked around that campus, and we walked around it until I could just hear her. I said, but in the end, I said, Lily, I always and forever love you. You're making different choices than I would make. And we've talked through the consequences of those choices. And I'm gonna, hard as this is, it's not about me, sweetheart, it's about you. And I'm gonna respect you, and I'll be with you the whole right along the path. So honey, those are my hope. Hold on, pain ends, but also keep my sense of humor, be true to myself, get perspective when I'm losing it, and be honest with myself emotionally, not just intellectually. Many of us, and I'm looking at your folk that are here, honeys, we got educated, right? Many of us had educated parents. My mother didn't have education, but my father certainly did. He was an engineer from an Ivy League school. And yet it's not it's not schooling that touches the heart. It's what do I do with my years? What do I do with the time that I've had? I know plenty of people that are my age that stopped learning when they were, 20? They had their lives planned and they stopped. Well, for me, my son teases me all the time about it being his crazy mama, because I'm always learning something. And so, yeah. So, girl, that's it about hope. And I'm looking to see what other people.
Well, that's amazing. I guess you answered that entire question with one word, which is a very powerful word, Holly. And I couldn't agree more that for parents to the first step towards this solution in these difficult times would be never to lose hope. Right. So I completely agree. I think that's the first step. So moving on to the next step of it, now that if parents practice this, they still parents are stressed in a way where, they have to work from home, with no help altogether. So, and there will be times and instances where I lose my peace of mind. It could be due to work. It could be due to, the financial challenges that almost everybody is going through. It could be because of health. So there could be numerous reasons because of this, current circumstances. But the outcome is the same. It's like it makes me angry. It makes me irritated. I want to shout, I want to yell, shout. And even if I don't like it or I don't want to, children are around me at that time. If I'm feeling such, how do I take care of it? How do I avoid it? Because I am very sure about one thing, that no parent wants to do it intentionally. No parent wants to yell or shout or, fight anything in front of their children. But the current situation doesn't allow me, because children are home for the last 6 months and I'm working from home, so a lot is going on. So how can we take care of it in the, if you could guide us through, I hope you understand what I'm saying, how can we take care of it so that it doesn't impact our children negatively? And first, it doesn't impact me first as a parent. And if I am at peace here, then I'm sure I don't need to worry, about my children. So how can I achieve that? So yes, I completely agree that the first step is hope, that I've understood the situation. I know, okay, so the world hasn't come to an end. It is just one difficult situation in front of us, and it is new. So it's not that I can learn from somebody's experience, because everybody is going through it for the first time. So now we've got enough time to understand that part. So yes, I think the first step towards it is be hopeful, don't lose it. So moving on, how do I manage this situation when I'm feeling angry, upset?
There's a beautiful question. And again, I'm going to look to our participants here to say, what's one thing, just one thing that you have been able to do to restore your sanity in an insane situation? Because how many of you felt crazy? Hey, crazy. Yes. I have felt crazy. And fortunately, my children are grown, so they haven't had to see me being anxious, being crazy, but they did. When they were little, they did. Now they went to preschool, which was great because they got perspective. But okay, so let's look at that question. I'm going to give you a powerful example. And this comes from another time before any of us was around, but it comes from another time when there was a horrible pandemic, and that was a world war. And how did a woman, what did she choose so she could make a difference with her children? And I'm going to share that. Her name was Frida Dicker Brandeis. She was Jewish, and she was a teacher. And she got put in the concentration camp with all of these families. And it was Theresienstadt, the concentration camp some of you may have heard of, where the Nazis wanted to look good. So they made it look like people had happy little places where they didn't. But this woman was wise, and she knew her death was imminent. And she also looked at these children. I don't want to even ask you to envision it. These beautiful children with all the promise ahead of them. And she knew they were going to be gassed. Horrible. What she did, though, and this is my reminder whenever I start feeling like, oh, I can't do it. What am I going to do? It's hard. It's impossible. When I lose hope, I think of what Freda did. Here's what she did. She said to the people in charge, the Nazis, she said, look, I'll take the children off your hands. I'll engage them. I know art and I can be an art teacher. Just give me these supplies. And she gave them a list. And they were glad to do that because they didn't want to bother with any kids, especially Jewish children. And what did she do? And this is what I'm saying now directly to the parents. What can we do in the midst of feeling bad? We can talk about it. Well, no, not everybody talks. Age appropriate. Hey, I got an infant. That infant's not going to talk to me except she's going to scream, But so what else? How else can we invite children to express what's going on with them? As soon as children are old enough, Preeti, they can be given big manipulables, like blocks.
Yes.
Show me, Cole. Show me what is that? We haven't been able to go outside for months. What do you think the world is like outside? Or I might even, if the trust is high, I might even say, Cole and Lily, would you guys draw me a picture of the coronavirus? But not just a picture of the coronavirus. Draw me a picture of your being able to fight that virus off. That's what Freda did with those children. And, still, all these years later, and it's 75 years later, all of those children drew and they sang and they danced and they performed. She looked to each child like you look to your children and say, what's this child's gift? Well, Nick can't sing, but he sure can dance. Well, Lily can't dance, but she sure can write. And so Freda got through to every child and allowed that child to express herself. And then she had the courage, Preeti, to say, okay, we all got this coronavirus. What does it look like? Just draw me a picture or tell me a story. What does it look like? And if you were to fight it and win, what would you look like? You should see the stuff that these children created, and you can. You just go online to the artwork by those children. At first, what did they do? They took the black ink and they drew awful stuff, because that's what they were experiencing. However, the next week after that, they started drawing themselves lying on their backs, looking up at the sky, holding hands with their best friend, and looking at the clouds to see what animal shapes they could find in the clouds. When I look at that, I say, what a lesson for this moment, honey. What a lesson for this moment. Parents going crazy? If I'm going crazy, I can say, guys, I'm having a bad hair day, and you know that. So let's all take these pieces of paper right here, right now. We're going to spread them out. We're going to do finger paints, and we're going to take a shower afterwards because we get messy. And Grandma, I'm going to invite her to do that, but she doesn't like to get messy. So she's going to be off in her part of the apartment, yeah? And by the time we're done with it, they have expressed what the coronavirus is. They have expressed their superpowers, and they've gotten themselves all messy. I've gotten myself all messy. We all need to go into the shower, but it's okay, because what happened? We went from your question of when things are driving us crazy, we expressed it, and we expressed it in a safe and loving place together. And every parent who's listening, and Preeti, I'm going to ask you, what's an example of what you've done about this? Finger paint's one thing. Telling stories is another, but I met your beautiful children. Now, what would you do if you were having a real bad headachy day and they were all over you? Because children know how to get under our skin, right?
Absolutely. And to be honest, I completely agree to what you said. So I believe Frida also changed the perspective of those children, which started from the black drawings to some colorful clouds and sky. I completely agree. And I think this is something which every parent is experiencing it since March or April. So yes, I mean, I also go through those instances where, just like any other parent, where I in my mind I would say I've had enough. Okay, so but yes, I believe being guided by people like you, Holly, being a part of early education community, the guidance and the suggestions, I am trying my best to incorporate it. And lately, I have been honestly, coming from the heart, the different approach to manage a particular situation has helped me immensely, with a very positive outcome, where I did not have to shout at my child. Instead, when I just sat with them and just talk it out, that what do you think? What you just did was the right way, or you could have done it in some other manner? Or would you really like it? So I believe when I spoke to them, or maybe if it happens with one of them, it has happened, quite a lot, because, we have been home for the last 6 months now. But I am so glad to share that those changing the perspective, talking it out, really helps. It has helped me. It is helping me almost every day. So right now, if something like that happens, I say whatever you're doing or whatever I am doing, I stop it. I keep it aside. And then, okay, what would you like to do? So they say we want to play, maybe we want to go cycling. If it is possible, we do that. You want to play, carom. You want to play a game which we can play indoors. So for that moment, I just give them my 100% attention. Though, it's easy. It's easy to say. I understand parents. I would be able to relate to a lot of parents would say it's very easy to say, but I would. I'm sharing my experience. Try it out. You might be irritated that you have a lot of work to be finished, or you're tired, but with a lot of homework and office work. But if the child is trying to talk to you, because I believe it is their way of telling you that I need your attention. So if they are, just keep it aside, your work, keep it aside for some time. It can be a 10-minute break, but it's going to give you the next 1 or 2 hours, peaceful next 2 hours. That I can assure you. So it's helping for me, Holly, and I'm very glad that I'm trying to practice it whenever required.
So, sweetie, you've just said something else. I'm back to taking my notes when you talk. You said something else that is so helpful. Okay, the first thing is to be honest in the moment, and in the moment, change up what we're doing. If one child loves what we're doing and the other child doesn't, then I need to be responsive to both children in their own way. But so change up the energy. If everybody's going, then maybe it's time to sing together. Maybe it's time, I used to do this with my kids all the time until they could do it, to create a treasure hunt. They would bring treasures, like they'd bring their teddies and all this stuff. And then they'd have to count to, depending on their age, how far they could count, but they had to count to maybe 30 and give mama time to hide everything. And they remembered what they had brought, and they remembered what the other child had brought. And then they'd go on this treasure hunt, and their energy would be all pumped to go on the treasure hunt. So it's number one, change up the energy when you're feeling like you're getting down. Invite the children. And if you have the kind of relationship and your children are mature enough, you can say to them, I feel really yucky right now, guys, and I don't want to take that out on anybody. So what I want to do is, hey, and here's the second thing. This is what you said, my friend. You said, give them a choice. Okay, give them a choice. So my son, Nick, and I have a special place in my heart for parents that have children who are what I call otherwise able. That is to say, children that have developmental delays, children that have challenges. Okay, my son had developmental delays. I didn't know what that was. I was an attorney. But I learned. And so here's what I learned. One of his developmental delays, and I bet you guys have experienced this, some of you, was called ODD. And I didn't know what that was. I knew what it spelled, odd. But ODD stands for oppositional defiant behavior. And that meant my son was gifted at getting under his mama's skin. He knew exactly from the moment he woke up in the morning how to push my buttons. And so here's what I learned, especially with him, because he was my older. But I used it with my daughter too. When they were getting frustrated or I was getting frustrated, the second thing I did besides change up the energy was to give them choices, which is what you just said, Preeti. Give them choices. Okay, guys. Nick, here are 3 things that we can do. Of the 3 things, which do you want to do most? Lily, of these 3 things, which do you want to do most? Okay. Well, yesterday was Nick's turn to go first, and today's Lily's turn. No, Mama, I don't want to, It's okay, all right. So here's what we're going to do again. Again, give them choices. So Lily wants to play with her dolls. Okay, great. Nick, you could care less about dolls. So let's give Lily a chance to play with Mama with her dolls. And Nick, your top choice. Your top choice is to do video games. All right. But you have a limited time with video games. Mama unfortunately read a study that said children who play video games can develop very quick thought processes. So I'm not 100% down on them. So I said, Nick, you got 15 minutes to play your video game. And Lils and I are going to play dolls. And then when we come back, all 3 of us are going to do something that we all like. So let's talk about what we all like. Mom, I want to go outside. I know, baby, but we can't. We can't go outside. So, okay, how can we make the outside come inside? Mama, we can't do that. Oh, yes, we can. What animal would you like to be if you were able to roam around outside? Oh, I would be a big bear. Great. When we're done, you're going to be the bear. Lily, what do you want to be? I want to be a horsey. I want to be a pony. Okay, Lily's the pony. And what do you think Mama should be? What? A toad? Okay, guys, if you think Mama's going to be a toad, I'll be a toad and I'll hop around. So now, okay. Then 15 minutes is up. We take a break or something or whatever. And then I say, okay, it's time to go outside. Where's Mr. Bear? Where's Miss Pony? And where's the toad? You guys have got 5 minutes to go in your rooms and get dressed up like a bear and get dressed up like a pony. Honey, children for the rest of their lives, the children inside of us will always want a choice. And when they see under limited circumstances that we still have choices, that's heaven to them. Those children in Theresienstadt had very few choices. But when they could choose what to draw, that was a gift. And so if Nick can choose what animal he's going to be, and he's going to be a snake. Perfect, Nick.
Absolutely.
And when he comes in the room doing this, we're all scared, and yet he's a funny snake and he's making us laugh. Sweetheart, in the moment, this is about the thing about being true to ourselves. Practical tips. Number 1, be honest with myself and how I'm feeling. And if I need a break, we haven't talked about this, Preeti. If I need a break, I got to have lifelines to be able to reach out to somebody. If my husband were there, I could text him and I could say, look, I'm losing it. I know it's not your time for another hour, but I'm losing it. So please come in 5 minutes before I go cray-cray. That's one way to reach out. Another way to reach out is we all need naps.
Yes, absolutely.
Naps. And so during the nap, if what I need more, because I'm too pumped to get to sleep, is to talk with one of my friends, I'm going to do that. So yeah, those are some practical tips about how to change up the energy, give children choices, Be as silly as they are, never losing sight, as you said, about the fact that we are the adults in the room. But children, here's the last point, my friend, because I'm listening to what people are writing. Here's the truth in terms of neuroscientific research. Mm-hmm. If you stretch your arms out, everybody who's with me, Atul, everybody, stretch your arms out as fully as you can and sort of lean into your one arm and then lean the other way and lean. And now bring your, and you can do this with children too, bring your arms around. No, Lily, you can't pinch Nick. No, Nick, you can't hit Lily. But okay, we're doing this. And then they can do all kinds of other things. They're going to be butterflies and all of that. However, what I'm saying right now in this moment to the adults listening is look at the space between one hand and the other hand. And how many feet do you think that is? Now, I'm not good with math, so I don't know. But how many feet do you think that is? Maybe 5 feet?
No, less than that, I guess.
Okay. Well, so what I need to say is, I'll give you the research from the Institute for Heart Math. Do you know, and I didn't know this until I started studying the brain and neuroscience, is that our heartbeat, and this is important with babies, with children of any age. Preeti, your heartbeat, my heartbeat, we aren't aware of it, but each heartbeat is sending out signals that can be felt by a person's heart who's within 5 to 10 feet of us. So are the children within 5 to 10 feet of us? Oh yeah, they're right all over us, right?
Yeah, yes.
So they, and if my grandmother's there and I'm taking care of her, she's like right in my face too, because she needs what she needs. The babies need it, she needs it. It happens to me. But here's the truth. If I am within 5 to 10 feet of someone without even thinking about it, my heart communicates one of two messages. Linguistics says basically everything we say to someone is a yes or a no. Each sentence is a yes or a no. And children pick that up. If I'm going to give them the message no, they're going to resist. But if I'm going to give them the message yes to this and no to that, then they're going to be more present. So look, each heartbeat right now, if you've got people within 5 to 10 feet of you, they're picking up the message, yes, I love you. Or they're picking up the message, I can't love anybody right now. I'm so cranky. Okay, you sit down on an airplane when we used to be able to fly, and someone comes and sits beside you. Can you tell in a heartbeat if that person's going to be obnoxious and chat your ear off? You bet you can, even before the person opens her mouth. When I'm in the classroom, honey, and teachers, if there are teachers here, or people that have staff, when you walk into a room with other people, can you not tell in a heartbeat if people are in a bad mood or a good mood? Yes, you can. Yes. So I pay attention to that and I say to myself, look, sweetheart, do you know this? I'm going to ask people to answer this question too. What percentage of human emotion do we communicate without words? In other words, what percentage of our communication is nonverbal? And there are different studies on this, but the one study says 68%, but the one I believe in says 93%. Because guess what? How many of us had a parent that gave us the look? You know what I mean? Oh yeah, with the head going like, oh.
Everybody.
My father had this nasty like snake like, I'm going to punish you. And my mother, he also had a comical way of looking too, but my mother, when she gave me the look, I knew, what does the look say? Shut up. So what I'm saying here is, as a parent, here's something else. Guys, your children are reading your expressions all the time, and they're reading your heartbeat. And so what does that say to me? That says, get clear. This is the emotional honesty part of hope. Get clear on what my feeling is. And if I'm having a bad hair day, honey, I don't have a problem anymore saying to my kids, I feel sad today. I feel sad because I lost one of my dear friends and I can't go to her funeral. And I loved her very much. And we were friends for like 20 years and I'm sad. So I don't feel like singing. But I need your help. If you guys would tell me some songs that you would like to sing, maybe we could sing together. And if I'm so far sad that I can't, and they're feeling it, that I can't even sing, I can say to them, would you do me a favor, guys? Pick out your favorite book that you would like to read to me because I'm sad. And they go to their rooms and they get their books and they bring them out. Mommy, read this. Mommy, read this, you know? And by the time they've done that, how do we all feel? Better. So number one, stay in touch with what we're feeling. Number two, give children choices. Number three, level with them. Be honest about how you're feeling. Yes, it's okay for mommy to say, I'm scared today. I know that we're safe in this house, but I'm scared because your Nona is in a hospital and we can't go visit her. That I'm afraid for her. So let's maybe take a moment and pray, or take a moment and meditate for Nona. Send her healing messages. So Preeti, when you're listening, tell me what came across to you as something that you think might help parents, especially moms. Pep Up for moms.
Yeah, I think a lot of things went through my mind while you were talking, like the timeout thing, and I practice it a lot, because if Atul is at work, and obviously it doesn't happen every day, but yeah, let's say once in a week or once in 15 days. So when I know that if I don't ask for help in the next half an hour, it won't be a very good outcome, where I would have to yell, shout, and then feel all the more miserable, because I don't like to do it. Right. No mother or father intentionally likes to shout on their children. That's the universal truth. So when we know that, and I believe if as adults we can promptly address that signal, that trigger, that okay, I think I need somebody to intervene. So I do that, and I believe as a partner, as a husband or as a wife, it is each other's responsibility to just pitch in the moment the other partner is seeking that signal. So that helps a lot. So what I do is, at that time, when if I need that help, I ask for help, so for the next 1 hour or maybe 2 hours, then I'm nowhere around my children. So that gives them a time to know that it's, as you mentioned, and it's very important for children to know that it is okay for my mother to be upset at times. It is okay that she needs a break. Okay, it's not her, not her duty to be there 24/7, 365. She ought to have her own time. So I believe that helps immensely. And I would really, encourage parents, mothers, who are listening, that you should try that. It helps immensely. It saves you from a lot of guilt that you might feel later after you've done the shouting and the yelling part, because I did not ask for help. So you can really save all that. Still have your break, get some fresh air, come back, and continue the happiness. So that works very well for me, and I really, I'm very happy that Atul helps me a lot on that part. And the second thing, what you said is, when we give them choices, I also see that as, obviously, I'm not talking about infants or toddlers, but yeah, I think maybe 3 years plus, they take it as a responsibility. That mama and papa, they are giving me a responsibility, and they feel so amazing about it, and they would love to do it, because you are putting trust in me and asking me to do something, or asking me to make a choice. And I think it's a very amazing, positive thing that we are inculcating if we are telling children that I am giving you the responsibility, you choose. Okay, you tell me which story you want to tell. So I think these two things, occurred to me, that yes, and they're amazing. It works so well.
And something else you just said, again, triggered something with me because some of the people listening have infants. Some of them have newborns. Some of them have like children that can't articulate yet. And so here's the question to everybody, does this principle about giving our children a choice apply when the children are really young? And when I reflect upon that, I wasn't really given choices as a child. I was regimented. However, there is a method called the Pickler method. It's named after Dr. Emmy Pickler from Hungary. And she felt that children don't need that much external stimulation. They need maybe one or two choices. So here's a way to be with an infant. If I have two possible we call them sensory toys, two possible toys that an infant can be playing with. And I offer them in a space where the infant can choose which one, then I can quietly remove the one she didn't choose, save that for later. And here's what I love. I love this. Follow the child's lead. What is she going to do first? Well, the first thing a young baby's going to do is put it in her mouth. Okay. Yes. And so now we can talk about, that's talk, what I talk about, right. Hard, soft, yeah, doesn't right. Feel good, and talk it through with the child. Or if a child is trying to look at something beautiful like a scarf, and is watching the movement of the scarf, that's a time for a child to develop her sense of timing, her sense of rhythm, her sense of understanding the flow of wind and breezes. I mean, honestly, when I get over myself as a parent, you know what I'm talking about? When I get out of my own way and I can just be beside the baby and say, what is she enjoying right now? I mean, there was a moment I'll share with you. My daughter must have been maybe 2.5 or 3, and she had beautiful long black hair. And she used to love to have me brush her hair. And mothers, fathers, if you've got little girls, they love that feeling, and it's beautiful. And so my daughter was leaning against my knees, and she's got this beautiful hair, and I'm starting at her forehead, and I'm coming back, and it's a beautiful mother-daughter moment. Absolutely. It's beautiful. And in that moment, here's what happened, Preeti. I thought, I'm not supposed to know how to do this. My mother never did this with me. We never had moments like this. My mother was very strict. And I froze for a minute, and I could see my daughter wondering what's going on. And what I did in that moment is I just said, sweetheart, remember what's important. Love, I always and forever love my baby girl. And so I went back to that beautiful moment. And I believe in those moments of timelessness. Preeti, you know what I'm talking about? Again, I'm going to invite everybody. When have you had a timeless moment with your child where you knew time was standing still for you because this was a memory that child could have forever? And I feel like my daughter's now, she has her own 4-year-old little girl, Isabel. And I'm going to talk. I haven't been able to see them because of this, I haven't, but I'm going to talk with Lily at some point. Sweetheart, what are some of the things, well, she's told me already, that she and Isabel love to do? And they're very similar, and they're all, here's another secret. Not every moment has to be beautiful. Some are hard. Sometimes the children are going to scream. Sometimes I'm going to have a headache. Sometimes those two things are going to happen at once, and it's not pretty. But there are moments that we will all remember that we can laugh about later, or that we can remember in our hearts as glowing moments. And so I invite you, my friends, as you're looking, yes, I'm looking at what folk are saying. Tell us, when have you had a timeless moment during the pandemic? Because Dickens said, it's the worst of times. Yes, ma'am, but it is also the best of times. Yes, sir. And the best of times means when we're under pressure, sometimes we perform more gracefully than ever before. So have you had those moments, Preeti, with your children when it was just beautiful and it was like timeless almost?
Well, honestly, yes. And if you ask me, this time at home with children, we like it or we don't like it, has allowed me and Atul to know our children better. You know, they have grown up. We actually talk about it that, you know, it's like they've grown up double the age in the last 7 months, and we have got to know so many new things about them. You know, like my son likes a particular Diary of a Wimpy Kid is his favorite book nowadays. They're finished too. So, you know, all of a sudden the you know, the likings have changed, you know, the interests have changed. They have started liking you know, some songs pretty much, you know, from Hannah Montana to, so, you know, these developments is something maybe if this time was not there, you know, the kind of time we are spending talking to each other or knowing, okay, you have this extra time, what do you want to do? So children have started expressing a lot. And we actually feel that it's actually a blessing that, you know, otherwise, you know, in the daily routine of going to work, coming back, they're going to school, coming back, go to karate class, go to cycling, I believe something was missing. And if we all agree, it is a difficult time. It is a very, very difficult time. It is different. But if you choose to change the perspective and look at the positive side of it, well, there are so many things. So I believe this is what, you know, I choose every day, every single day. And again, I will repeat the same thing. It's not easy. It is not easy, but it's a choice that I make.
And sweetheart, I want to say, and I interrupted you, but I'm also looking at our time, and I want to say that, look, so my children are older now. My daughter has her own daughter, and we often talk. This is something that if you've got younger children, you might not have experienced this yet, but I want to share it with you because I didn't expect this. My children love the fact that I witnessed their childhoods. And I remember, like a mother can remember, all those things that they loved. And my son loves for me to tell him stories. Mama, tell me, you know, he doesn't call me Mama anymore. Mom, tell me, what was it? You know, what was I like when I, you know, remember when I got into trouble at school and what did we do and what did I say? And I tell him his story because that's a great thing. It's true for parenting and it's true for being a partner. We are on earth to be a witness to someone else's journey and development, and that witnessing is love. If I witness with acceptance, that's love. And so one of the things both of my children really appreciate is when we can talk and they'll ask me, Mom, what was I like when I was 2? And I have these things I remember. So parents, even if you think you're getting 89 out of 100% things wrong, you're the repository of this child's story. Don't, and even when the kids were little, my son used to say, Mama, tell me this story about when I did this. And I would tell him. So it's not about being perfect. It's not about not being afraid, because fear is a natural response. But what it's about is making that choice, not in a Pollyanna fake way, like, oh, we're good today. No. In a way of saying, you know what, I don't feel good today. I feel cranky. And so I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do that one, but I am going to say, today we all get to read our favorite books. And you know what? Today we all have one movie that I don't like to do movies that much because they can become fixating. But you know what? By the end of the morning, or, you know, kids are in school in the morning now, right? But by the end of the afternoon, we can all watch our favorite movie together. What time, Mommy?
Absolutely. So yes, I mean, you know, whatever you said, you know, it's so true that it is such a joy. I mean, when our children will grow up and when they ask you, because everybody wants to know how was I as a child, what did I do when it was my first day of school, and I can imagine, how it takes us back to those beautiful first time memories of, first day at school, first day at, high school, how I would say precious would they feel that my parent remembers all this, and how much have they worked for us. So parents, so we will conclude this amazing conversation, Holly, with one last thing that I want to discuss, is that I've read that you've practiced something for 21 days, it becomes a habit. I mean, okay, maybe more, but I believe if you do it, religiously for 21 days, it definitely, you are on the, it will soon become a habit. So now for parents, it's been 6 months of a home lockdown, or maybe the circumstances that we are in. So if I don't change, or if I don't make that conscious effort, because it's not 21 days, it's like 21 days into 6 months now, and it's going on, and it might go on for the next few months. So what do I do? Would I want to make it a habit, or is it not the time to take control and still find happiness in these times? And I would want that, I would really love to hear, something from your new book, that happiness is waiting for you. So if you could give us some examples, some insight from your book, so that we don't let this turn into a habit. We make conscious choices, and happiness is right there. You just need to go grab it.
So, honey, here, thank you. And here's what Hafiz said back in, I think, maybe the 13th or 14th century. He said, "Ever since happiness heard your name, it's been running through the streets to find you." And I wanted to believe that. I wanted, as a mother who didn't feel like I was getting many things right, I was like creating everything from scratch. I thought the teachers in preschool knew much more about child development than I did. I thought, I loved my mother, but I didn't want to be the same as my mother. So it was just exhausting. And I was an expert at beating myself up. And I know parents can do that. Okay, so this is a theme of my book. Nobody else on earth can tell me who I am, although they have tried. My parents told me what a good woman should be. She should be ladylike, all this stuff, And I tried that, but, it didn't fit me. And when I look at my own children, oh, sure, I would have loved if my daughter would have continued with the beautiful artwork she was creating when she was a child, but that was not her choice. She became a chemical engineer because that's the way her brain works, okay? And she has to explain, as Lily explained to me, like I'm in second grade, what you mean by this stuff. And she does. But so what I want to say here is, it's twofold. It's looking out and looking in. My friends, to be a good parent, I have to be a good parent to myself. And that means, and that's my hardest job on earth, is to be as loving to myself as I am to those babies. I gave them unconditional love from the moment I saw them, the moment I experienced them. And I didn't do that with myself. So here's one particular practice that works for me. Take what you like, leave the rest. At the end of the day, before I go to sleep, I used to tally up. How many of you guys do this? I would tally up my accomplishments for that day. Did we do this? Did we do that? Did the children get this done? It's like measuring children by how well they do in school. Well, children do well in school because they like themselves, 1, and 2, they can build relationships, and 3, they know how to deal with difficult situations. Those are the skills they need. It's not knowing 1 through 50 overnight. No. So what I do to myself, and this has become a habit, Preeti. At the end of the day, when my brain goes directly to the old habit of, okay, what did I accomplish today? I laugh. I smile at myself and I say, okay, honey, what happened today that was a blessing? And I don't mean to sound religious, but what happened today where it was a beautiful moment? Remind me of the beautiful moments of the day. And that changes my whole perspective. And I've started doing that with my adult children. If we back in the day, if we went on a trip or we had a day together, before, I'd drop them off or I'd say goodbye to them, I'd say, so sweetheart, what's your favorite memory of our time together today? And sweetheart, Preeti, that is so good for my heart, because I'm not saying, well, did we accomplish our checklist? Someone said to me, and I will end with this. She said, don't do a to-do list, do a done list. Yes. Give yourself credits, moms. Look at all you've done. Maybe list what you've done rather than list what you got to do. And then I invite you to ask yourself, when did you feel true to yourself today? When did you feel in love today? When did you feel like the heavens opened up for you and God was in her heaven and all's right with the world? It's those moments that connect into beauty. And I think, I said it was the last thing, but here's my last thing. We can be so hard on ourselves, Preeti, that if nothing else, this pandemic has taught me to, a little bit at a time, be gentler and gentler with myself, and to loosen up on my need that I was taught to be perfect or I'm nothing. Honey, is my perfectly imperfect self, warts and all, that my children love and that I'm learning to love too. Does that make sense?
Well, it definitely makes sense, because you said the right thing. I mean, obviously, whatever you said is right. But I loved, when you say this, that stop thinking that you have to be perfect. So start accepting, the imperfection is our children do not expect us to be perfect. So stop stressing yourself on that fact that I want to be perfect. I want to be a perfect mother or a perfect father or a perfect parent. Our children love the way they are. If we are happy, they automatically feel happy. So I believe to all the parents and Holly, thank you so much. It was amazing, and I'm sure this discussion can just continue for hours, because we are talking heart to heart, and we are talking about a parent. First of all, you need to feel proud of what you're doing. Okay. I loved it when you say feel proud of the done things. Stop looking at to do things, because that's never going to end. So pat your back for all the done things, be it for a day, for a week, for a month, or since the time you've become a parent. So kudos to you. You are an amazing parent. And just remember, this is what our personal experience says, that if you are happy, I think your children anyways are going to be happy. So I feel, Holly, a lot of our viewers are parents or people who are going to watch it later, because it's say around 10, 18 p.m. In India. So especially those parents who watch it later are going to relate to the discussion that we had. And I hope and I pray that, it gives them a new perspective, to make positive changes in their day-to-day life. With that, once again, thank you so much, Holly. It was a pleasure, an honor for me to be talking to you like this, and I look forward to many more conversations with you.
Let's do it again, my friends. Goodbye to everybody. Be kind to yourself. Remember, Fred Rogers said this beautiful thing. He said, in the midst of he said, when the children's world goes topsy-turvy and they get really stressed about it, he said, look, it's not the ever-present smile that children are looking for. They are looking for exactly what you said, Preeti, what we talked about. They're looking for, does my family love me? No matter when I'm angry, no matter when I'm sad, no matter when I'm cranky, is their love for me big enough to not just embrace me for who I am, but embrace themselves? They are learning. Every time my son hears me say, Nick, I made a mistake and I apologize to you. Or every time I say to my son, Nick, I love you, but I need a break.
Right.
Break. And so let's go. We're going to end early today, but let's sit together and share whatever we need to share before you go back to your apartment. You know, just it's that setting of boundaries. I had a friend in law school that said to me, if you have too open a mind, your brains will fall out. I didn't like that because I liked having an open mind, but I got it. What she was talking about was, if I set boundaries, then I know where I end and someone else begins. I was taught there's no boundary between a mother and a child, and it feels that way, doesn't it, when they're tiny?
Absolutely.
But their identity and mine comes from detaching with love.
Detaching with love.
Yeah. And I'm learning that. I got it, girlfriend. I have loved talking with you, and I've loved being with you. And Preeti, I'm looking at the comments. Start looking for and feel proud of the done things rather than what you got to do. Honey, if that's the one thing you take away, give yourself credit.
Absolutely. I think we have, I believe, in fact, we have a lot of takeaways from this conversation. And with that, once again, a big thank you from the Early Childhood Global Mastermind Group, from me. And I look forward to talk to you again. Thank you so much to all our viewers who are still awake, logged in, and joined us. Thank you so much. Stay safe, and we will meet very soon with another Pep Up Talk on Facebook Live. Have a good night. Have a good day, Holly. See you. Take care. Stay safe.
Talk soon, honey. Stay happy. Bye.
Bye-bye.